All right. Hey, everybody. This is Patrick Montgomery at the ISP Group, a.k.a. Innovative Selling Partners. We are thrilled to have a guest today that is an influential leader in the Detroit metro area. In his space, we're going to learn a lot about him. Gideon Pfeffer is here with us today. Welcome, Gideon. Thank you so much for being here today. Give yourself a little introduction.
Happy to be here, Patrick. I've been looking forward to it. Thank you.
Give yourself a little introduction.
My name's Gideon Pfeffer, and I am the CEO and managing partner of a company called the GSH Group. We're a real estate investment firm specializing in multifamily apartment communities. Over the last handful of years, we have acquired just about 8,000 apartment units across 6 states. We're pretty heavy in Michigan. Today, our portfolio sits at about just under 6,000 units, worth a little over $1 billion. And I don't do it alone. I've got a couple partners. My wife is involved. We've got a great team. And we have a lot of investors. So we open up our investments to accredited investors. And so a lot of folks in the community here are owners with me in these awesome apartment projects.
That's great, man. Great. And the thing that really sticks out to me there is your wife's involved.
Yeah.
Wow.
It usually does
That's
for people. Yeah.
How do you guys get along? I mean, like working together. I know it can be challenging. Yeah, work-wise. Oh, I guess marriage-wise.
Well, things are going good. I'm pleased to report.
Look at the marriage, not about the business.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, my wife has always been involved in supporting the ventures, the businesses that we've created together. But I actually formally asked her to come on about 3 years ago. She serves as the COO of the company. She's got a master's degree in organizational development, and I'm a salesman. I'm a visionary. I like to put deals together. And after a while, I looked around and said, "Well, I have this pretty big enterprise, and we need to get some real processes and systems in place." And so I asked her to come in. It wasn't without its challenges in the beginning. I was used to being the main person in charge and my way going on every front. But, the company was experiencing certain challenges operationally because I kind of hit my ceiling in terms of what I was capable of. And so, I had to have some humility, set aside my ego at times, and let her do what I asked her to come in and do. So once I got past that, which is typically, I think a pattern in my life, right? Once I kind of get past myself and let other people do what they're good at, things have been great.
Yeah, no, I think of what I call the ego barrier. It's that thing where, it holds you back from growing and getting better.
Yeah.
And the minute I hear someone talking about implementing a new system or process or plan or methodology or strategy, I think of, okay, this person had a reckoning of some sort where they felt the need to change. And then now they're at a place where they're accepting and open to change. You always have to come to that point in order to change.
Yep.
And so, especially bringing in your wife, I mean, that's a huge step. So, was she saying, "Oh, I want to be a part of this," or "We're a part of this, let's do this together," or was this something you kind of had to, kind of convince her to do?
I think it kind of happened organically. She's always been involved in the businesses, and we've been intentional with the trajectory of our businesses and ideas together, visioning what do we want, out of life, out of marriage, but also out of our business and careers. And so she was always kind of there strategizing and helping coach me along the way.
Yeah.
But I think that it was kind of we both knew that it needed to happen, and had to navigate that.
Okay, so she brought in some new systems and processes. What brought you to the point where you were like, okay, I need to have something concrete in place as far as systems and processes?
What it was we originally had her come in and do some workshops for the team, and as part of it, she did kind of a survey for all the team members on just their experience at the company, and through that process and the answers that people gave, it was clear that what my perception was in terms of how people felt about working at the company, their work-life balance, what the company had to offer them besides just pay. I had this idea of what our culture was that was much different than what our team members were experiencing. And so that survey kind of uncovered gaps within the organization. We had grown from a small business to a large business organically, but kind of left behind or didn't create an infrastructure that supported the team. And so it became pretty clear that we needed to make some changes.
Yeah, it's so wild too. You see in a business, especially being a leader of your own company, a lot of times you see things from the inside out. It's like a vacuum.
Right.
We've heard of that analogy before, but you can't really find your way out or see things straight in your own little bubble or vacuum.
Yep.
So when we step outside of that comfort zone and bring in outside help, it's really crucial to our business that we not only find the right people that can point it out for us and say, look at our expertise and what we can contribute and point things out. And through that discovery, that's really smart of her to do that initial kind of, survey of your people, because they probably saw things, like you said, completely different than you expected.
Yeah, and I think that what I've learned over time, being the leader, being the owner, the boss, whatever you want to call it, you want people around you that are gonna be honest with you. But I think that it's difficult for team members to be totally honest at times with the boss. Sometimes it's I don't think I experienced it a ton, but sometimes I think about am I really that funny, or people are just laughing at my jokes because I pay them, right?
Yeah, no, it's the latter.
For sure. I'm sure. Validating that, I expect.
I mean, there is an element. I've been in America for over 20 years, and everyone is kind of there is a base layer of fear of speaking out and losing your job.
Right.
I mean, every year in corporate America, there's mass layoffs. There's a really toxic environment stemming from the top down, mind you.
Sure.
Lack of humility, and it comes off as micromanagement. We don't trust our workers, our employees, our colleagues.
Right.
So we got to lord our expertise over them and watch them and micromanage every little thing they do.
Sure.
We want to see what's in that email. Pull that email up. Let's look at it. Right.
That would be awful.
I mean, that is a rampant problem in corporate America. The toxic work and sales and business environment it comes down from the executive team, and there is a lack of self-awareness around that topic. And a lot of times you'll see I pitch my company as sales training for the self-aware, and we train in corporate America. So self-aware companies, they first of all, there's that rule of thumb in marketing: everything you're pitching is the thing you're worst at.
Sure.
So if you're really pushing hard on something, it's a little obvious that you might have a problem with it. When you see companies, talking about, and I don't mean to get, in the political realm, when they're talking about DEI or, some of these HR initiatives that they're pushing, it's probably because there was a problem and they're trying to solve that by implementing some of these new processes.
Okay.
So it's like when we're pushing something too hard, we want to be kind of pull it back a little and hold it a little closer to our sleeves, and then kind of change from the inside out. And that's a common theme I see in great business leaders like you, change from the inside out.
Yeah, you were talking earlier about being willing to bring in an outside consultant, or to being willing to look and realize that what I took it as is being willing to look at we're not perfect. This business isn't perfect, right? And you call it the challenges. What challenges does the business have, and are we willing to make a change? For me, I equate challenges to pain, right? Like, how much pain does it take? And what does pain look like? It could look like a challenge. It could look like lost revenue. It could look like straight up mistakes that cost you money. How much pain am I willing to feel until I'm willing to actually make a change. And sometimes it costs money to make those changes, but over time, what's your ROI on not making a change or bringing in somebody or a consultant who is going to cost money, and what's versus, not doing it and doing it, basically, right?
Yeah, no, I call it the kind of tightrope of business. It's you're walking that tightrope, and it's almost like how much is the pain? What side is the pain going to push me in?
Yeah.
Change or failure, death or life. That's kind of how I look at it. Of the business, of the soul, of the mind, of the body.
Yeah.
In life too. It's not just about business. We have lives that we live, families, wives, kids, all of that. And there's a certain amount, there's a threshold of pain that we can take before we die or change.
Yep.
And we both know that. I know that you know that. And, and sometimes that's why I kind of keep spiritual mind about things. Is that I think that we don't have much control over which side we go into, but we have control up to the point of when we tip.
Sure.
Right. So in my spiritual life, in my mindset gets me to a point where the miracle of the thing that happens at that tipping point of the tightrope pushes me into change, not death.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
So all this work we put into our business, all the work we do internally with our employees, ourselves, our leaders, our COOs, EROs, our directors, our sales managers, our product team, marketing teams, all that work we put in to leads up to that point is what's going to happen at that breaking point.
And what's the breaking point in my experience has been that pain, or that creates the willingness to admit that, okay, like maybe we need some help in this specific area, right? Personally or professionally.
Yeah.
Right? Being willing to be vulnerable and to admit that I don't have it all figured out, right? And we're not going to go where we want to go if we continue doing things the way that we just keep doing things, right?
Yeah.
It's hard for somebody, I think I often think pretty highly of myself, gotten this far.
Yeah.
I should be able to figure it all out.
Right.
I think that at the point in my life when I realized that it's okay if I admit that I don't know everything and I don't have it all figured out, and that I should accept help and remain teachable, again, both professionally and personally, things took off.
But that is an outlier. You are an outlier. 100%. And I think it goes in waves. Like you see that coming to businesses where we're going to implement change. But there was a problem, and that's why they're doing it, right? They're trying to fix a problem, like we are. But a lot of companies are using that as a facade. Rather, they haven't hit the breaking point yet. It's more of they're trying to get ahead of it,
right?
And they're not really built that way from the core. Whereas if they would let their original plan play out and fail, then they could rebuild almost.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
And you come to that self-awareness that you're talking about, and it really comes down to humility. And there's a lot of business leaders out there that just have a hard time, and I empathize with them. I've been there. I know what it is to really believe that I have it all figured out, know what I'm doing, and no one can tell me anything. I'm the best at what I do. But to get to a point from that to humility, it's interesting. It's really interesting. I had a customer that I trained their salespeople. They came to me. There's 20 salespeople at this company, and it's enterprise sales in tech, and they make a lot of money. The salespeople probably make around $200-300 grand a year. Their base salary is around 130, and then they get commission and double that on commission. And so it's a lot of 30s, 50s professional men and a couple women that make a lot of money as just salespeople for a tech company. And they have a lot of machismo. They have a lot of ego. They have a little arrogance. And it's it's one of these things like, how do we get to a chink in their armor to see that they need to change? Because they're just taking orders. They're not really selling.
Okay.
It's a differentiator in their marketplace, a disruptor, and people are just buying their shit.
Yeah.
And so I had the CEO come up to me and go, obviously there's a problem with arrogance in our sales team.
Okay.
And the way that came about, remember that. And I'll get back to that, but one of the guys was like, okay, you're here training our sales team of enterprise salespeople in tech. What makes you so great to come in here and train us?
Yeah,
in
who
sales?
are you to train us?
Right. And, I got to, I didn't really even have that as an insecurity until he said that.
Sure. Like, I don't know.
I'm not insecure about that.
Yeah.
But it's a point I touch on quite a bit because it's really relevant in any space in life with training and getting better. Is, first of all, my response was, I appreciate the inquiry here. And, I would say the one thing that works in my favor in this situation is that your boss hired me to come in and train you.
Sure.
Right? So someone believes in you. First of all, I was a little being condescending at that point, but I'm like, you should thank your boss because they still believe in you, even though you've given them all hope of yourself at this point. But anyway, I was just kidding. Everyone laughed, whatever. And so, it's a multifaceted question because if you think about it, is anyone better than Gideon at what you do? There might be, but say you're the best.
Okay.
Can anyone train you when you're the best?
Probably not when I think of him.
Right. So look at okay. You gotta excuse me for football analogies. We'll probably talk about the Lions in a little bit here too. But I think about Tom Brady.
Okay.
The GOAT of all time, best that ever lived, and as a quarterback, debatable, most rings. He still has a trainer.
Yeah, they said Tiger Woods had a coach, right?
Right. Who's better than Tiger Woods at golf?
Right.
Right. If Tiger Woods needed someone to be better than him at the thing he was doing, he would never have a trainer.
Right.
He could never have a coach.
It's just like having another person giving perspective. You can't always see. You can't.
Yeah.
A solitary self-appraisal is insufficient.
Yeah, you need someone coaching and teaching and learning. You need people or items or things that you're learning from a bucket, a spiritual kit of tools.
Yes.
Whatever it is, there has to be some sort of initiative in our lives of growth and change and evolution.
So is tech kind of like a unique one for you? You do a lot of tech, corporate tech.
I know that business well,
Okay.
and I know that environment well. We do have some insurance and real estate customers as well. We train real estate agents and insurance agents. It's a different world. We started out as our core business being B2B, and then we get a lot of inquiries from dealerships, insurance, real estate coming in about, how can we leverage sales training to sell to our consumer base better.
Okay.
And it was a whole different world for me. I had to say, let's go. I had to learn more how to sell to a consumer base.
Got it.
So, what I've done for Innovative Selling Partners is taking that scale and scale it back to working with individuals and consumers at the consumer level. So there's a lot of still process involved. We're just shortening sales cycles, basically, the closer we get to consumer.
Yeah.
As you get up to strategic, you're looking at 1, 2, 3 year long sales cycles.
Yeah.
If we're talking construction, it might be 30 minutes.
Sure.
So that there's the whole spectrum of sales cycle, and it's all segmented through from consumer all the way to Fortune 100 companies.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Our core business still is mostly tech and B2B, but I don't say that we don't turn down business, but we actually do turn down business. It's one of these things that we have to be profitable at the end of the day.
It's time. Right?
And people in companies and customers, they expect to work with a profitable company.
Right.
So that's something that I teach and have massive conviction on, and that is why we are expensive. Because we need to be profitable, and that's a lot of times. That's one of the reasons I've turned down businesses because of what we charge.
Sure.
But we also look at the ROI in the whole sales process, and it's typically a competitive situation where there's an ankle biter offering low end costs. So, and those ones we gotta just let go. If you're looking for the dirt cheapest cost, maybe we haven't done our job in the sales process.
Right.
And I got to go back and start implementing my sales process like I teach. You know what I mean? So I got to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
What could we have done better?
Well, it's good to know your worth, and it's the expectation. I think that you said is that you're going to be well worth more.
Oh, yeah.
The cost they pay is going to be fractional compared to what they're going to get out of it. Exponential growth from a sales perspective and revenue perspective. So, you're going to deal with people out there always on a sales call that are, very concerned with the now and very concerned with the dollar amount that they're paying out today. And maybe they've got limited funds, and rightly so. And there's others that are going to understand value, right?
Yeah.
Long-term value and ROI. So.
Yep. And the investment aspect to it, I guess. Did something come unplugged?
My.
Is it good?
Yes, it's my charter.
Oh,
we're good.
Cool.
As you aptly said, I don't have a Mac, so I got to keep my charter.
Poor guy. You know what? On behalf of all of your employees, they all ping me before the show today. They want all brand new MacBooks.
All brand new Macs. Okay.
Okay, you got that?
Keep that in mind.
The ROI.
I'm taking a note.
No more laptop scaling and customer level.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm not pitching Mac there, by the way.
I'll keep it in mind.
That's funny. So we are streaming on LinkedIn and YouTube currently. We do have my buddy here from Top Media, Anthony. How's it going, Anthony? You want to come say hi for a minute?
Come say hi.
Because he's the coolest guy I know, and he does the highest quality video I know. And this is Anthony from Chop Shop Media. Say hi, Anthony.
Hi, how are you all doing? Happy New Year.
Awesome. So, I'm going to tag him in the video for the stream. So we're streaming here live, and we're going to have this video, but we also have a huge setup here at Smokies live in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan on Woodward and Square Lake. And we got quite the production today because Anthony came in and he's killing it with this. So we'll have a lot of footage from Gideon's end for GSH and for Innovative Selling Partners. And we'll be sure to get this one up as well, Anthony. But, and we're going to have some footage of Paul Essa and his humidor, and also the golf simulator in a bit. And we'll have some footage up with that as well. It's going to be really great. This is the best cigar shop in Metro Detroit, hands down. I'm a cigar aficionado. I just want to say that I know a lot. I would say like a lot is like 20% about cigars. Like there's masters out there. So maybe 20%. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. I know where things are from. I know about different tobaccos. Today I'm going to be smoking the Liga Privada T52. I don't know if you can see that. I'm actually not going to light up today. I'm going to have it after the podcast. The smoke and everything kind of gets in the way of the video, and I just don't want to do that today. But this is a great cigar today as well. They are on LinkedIn, Liga Privada T52. Look them up and go buy a box for your dad, husband, brother, sister, mom, whatever. And buy it from Smokies in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Paul Essa and Pete Essa are here to help you anytime. And I'm usually here because this is like my second office. So if I'm not traveling, I'm here. So I was telling Anthony, I spend about 40% of my work time at.
That's amazing.
And I don't always smoke cigars. This is a welcoming crew of people. They don't serve alcohol. There's a little cooler over there with drinks. But there's a lot of cool stuff, really good prices on cigars. These guys are a distributor for the area, right, Paul? You guys are a distributor? And they have really good prices for consumers. So stop in and get your cigars here today. They definitely have the best humidor. Really well managed. I think we keep it around 70% humidity. The temperature is great. And the cigars are always really, really well taken care of and good. And they have really good house cigars. These are only $8.
Really?
Here, this is $16.95. Really good cigar. You can tell the difference. Don't get me wrong. But this one here is $8, and it's a really fucking decent cigar. I'm not joking. And you smoke cigars often. You're not always going to go out and spend $16.95 every day. It's not like I don't want to have a cigar half.
Yeah.
Right, you got $80 on it, right? Like, I'm not a cigar junkie.
No?
I'm not as bad as them.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
All right.
I'm kidding. See how self-awareness I have?
I think you have a little bit more. So what was the genesis of this podcast here at Smokies? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was starting my business a couple years ago, and I was thinking. Actually, there was people were saying, we want to talk to you and your company, and I was thinking, how can I, create more visibility? I want to create kind of a marketing kind of cycle of Smokies, innovative selling partners, and other business leaders in the area, and create some visibility. Mark from a marketing perspective, and I was working a bunch of big deals, and I was thinking, this will just create some positive vibes and visibility. Not only here, but like this one's different. This is the first one of the new year. Anyway, I'm really grateful to have you. This is January 2nd.
January 2nd.
What was that?
Yeah. Who's doing anything on January 2nd?
We are. I am. Jeez. I've killed it today.
Creating content.
It's been a great day of productivity, I'm telling you.
All right.
It has, man. This is going to be the fucking best year of my life.
I have no doubt.
And this is going to be the best year of your life. I agree 100%. Like, I like to manifest that stuff in other people, too.
That's what I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Speaking it, right?
It is, man. And I feel the good vibes. I have to, but anyway, getting back to that, and then we'll get back to that. Like, I thought this was a really good opportunity to get people in the community into Smokies. And like I said, this one's a little different. Usually we have a little audience here, people talking, we'll banter back and forth. It's really cool. We'll have you on again in 6 months. We'll do it then. First year, no one's around. I got lazy. I know.
I got lazy too.
I know. But we're going to get some good content for you. Everything's going to be good, man. I promise. And so, we typically have people here, and but this is just as good because we're keeping the conversation going. Growth, innovation, goals. How can we change? Self-awareness. There's so much good stuff that can come from this, and I guess that was my initial mindset of starting the podcast. I don't have, I'm looking at hiring kind of a marketing team, an element to my company that can actually really do something with a lot of this stuff, because I am really busy with my business, and I do have a couple people that I work with internally at Innovative Selling Partners, but I can't expect them to I can't put everything on their plate. It's just not fair. It's not how the business works. And so I really gotta get a handle on the marketing. This thing should have been really bigger by now, but because of me and being so busy and my lack of fortitude to work through some of these challenges with the podcast, it stayed a little like.
Yeah, but you can only do so much, right?
Yeah.
We just started focusing on social media and video and all that a couple of years ago myself.
Your videos are great, by the way. I love them.
I appreciate it.
I like them every time I see them.
It's hard to put yourself out there, I needed to do it, but we grew organically. Didn't really need it, but when the real estate market shifted, when interest rates went up, investor appetite for deals contracted. There's a lot of fear about the market, and so we knew all along that we needed to be hustling and marketing harder, kind of same journey that you are talking about. And so I'm right there with you, right? Like, I don't have a full-time marketing person. I've got people that help me, like you have Anthony, I have an Anthony, and I'm trying to figure that out as well. Because that's the name of the game nowadays, man. Like, you gotta be out there.
Oh yeah. And it's challenging too. I'm, a Gen Z or Gen X, excuse me, not Gen Z.
Yeah.
It's challenging. I'm a Gen X, 48 years old. And, I don't see things for what they truly are anymore. I used to when I was younger. And so it wouldn't make sense really for me to manage social media.
No,
Like,
makes no sense.
one of my customers hired a 22-year-old woman. She's on it, man. She's like the best. It's just unbelievable. This ideas and stuff. I mean, she just has like every little in it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not in it.
Right.
I can't. I'm thinking in a different.
There's an algorithm, right? There's a way that it all fits together that I'm generally aware of, but like I'm not in it either.
Yeah, I don't think I could be in it. Like that's just one of my limitations is social media. And if I want to really, grow and kill it in that, my belief, and it's probably, self-defeating belief, is that I gotta have someone else do it. It's a full-time job. You can't do 3 posts a day on every platform and ever do anything else.
Look, I think that the reality is that if you're starting a business, social media is super important, and you do like a lot of the tasks when you're starting a business, you bootstrap it and you do a lot of as much as you do as much as you can of a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, if you're like me, you're sales, right? You've got to bring the revenue in, and you're the one that people want to talk to most of the time, right?
Yeah.
To close those deals. So you can't be on social media, managing your social media account all the time. You need to be out speaking to people, right? So,
and there's a holistic approach. So it used to be, and I would just, say be open-minded about this. Is it's more holistic now. So we look at it from a perspective of sales as the whole. The old school mindset is you call someone, you meet with them, you go out, have a series of meetings, do a discovery, do a demo, do a proposal, negotiations, closing, and then you move on. And then that's somewhat of I believe in that process. But that's one element of the touch points of relationship building throughout that sales environment.
sure.
Social media is a part of that holistic environment. So if and I believe in the foundational aspect of your business as social media. And not that I'm there by any means, but I think that we have to have an online social media foundation, so people have something to refer to. So if I'm out there and we're talking to customers and we're closing deals, and then they're like, "Oh, let's go online and check him out," and it's like 404 error, like that doesn't look right. If there's a trail foundation of consistent messaging,
And I hate to sound old and say it's new, because it's not new. Maybe it's like a decade new. It used to be a website, right?
Yeah.
And you need that too. But now you need your resume. It's your virtual resume, right? And how active, how successful, what's their engagement,
when resumes are going out, honestly, people, they don't hold much water. You could send a page with foreign emojis.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, let's get an interview. Like people don't even they barely look at interviews. People want that interaction, and they want to test you in person.
So we're talking about some sales fundamentals right now, right? So like trust, right? People want to believe that they can trust you. They want to believe that you're going to change their life or business for the better, I think. And that's a skill and talent that I think it's hard to develop. Somebody's either good at that or not good at it.
Trust?
Yeah, getting people to trust them quickly, right?
Some people are trustworthy and some aren't.
Yeah, or some people can act trustworthy even though they're not,
right?
But I think that the savvy or the well-informed prospect, I guess, is looking for somebody that's got experience, that's got track record, that's got a history of success, that's got other people that are talking about them experience-wise. We've had a good experience with them. They want to de-risk this transaction or investment or whatever it might be in sales, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you're selling your service, right? You're selling the idea of increasing revenue, increasing ROI in a business by increasing and creating processes in sales for a sales team.
Methodology,
right?
Yeah.
My sale is there's probably two different sales that I'm dealing with. My primary sale is to, an investor or an investment group who wants to place their capital in real estate, but has a lot of choices, right? So what's interesting about investing with Gideon or investing with GSH, right? And the other one might be, maybe somebody that I want, whose property I want to buy, right? Why should I sell it to Gideon? But primarily it's that investor because, we didn't build $1 billion investment portfolio or real estate portfolio by just using all our own money, right? We needed to bring in investors to invest alongside us. And so what makes us so special? Why should people want to invest with us? So it goes back to that. Do they trust us? Do we have a track record? Do we have a track record of success? All of the things that I mentioned before.
Especially in finance.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to put my money with anyone I don't trust.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. And if, it's good to have that foundation of trust, but that can be built also as in a holistic perspective from that social media presence as well. If you think of it in terms of, influencing your audience, your videos are great on LinkedIn.
Thank you.
You should put those on TikTok, Instagram, everything. I think they do really well. That would build a layer of trust. And you sell to a consumer market sometimes, right? You guys are consumer and commercial?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Individuals, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So that's where a lot of millennials and Gen Zs with a lot of money go. TikTok, Instagram. It might sound childish or whatever, but I mean, I'm addicted to TikTok. So
it's hard to not scroll.
Right? Yeah, I mean,
you can lose a lot of time scrolling. That's for sure. No, I know what you mean. Like I've actually had, younger individuals reach out to me who are like getting started in their real estate journey, wanting to either go from single family to multifamily, which was how, my path went, or wanting to scale up their multifamily platform and reach out to me for help. And, often they're very respectful of my time. Some of them offered money. I try to pay it forward because others have given me time, but I considered the idea of some high ticket coaching myself because if somebody's really serious, already successful and willing to really invest in themselves, then I don't see why I wouldn't give them the time. So those videos are out there for a variety of reasons, that being one of them.
Yeah, I've noticed that actually. So your message is getting across. I totally noticed that. I was like, oh, I didn't know Gideon is accepting, students.
Right.
And that interests me. I love that mindset of teaching and giving back. It's really important.
I enjoy it. I mean, if my experience can help other people, it's great. But the amount of time that I have between the businesses and my family is limited, and so it's a real high ticket type of.
Well, it's relative. We compare tickets.
Sure.
Sure. No, so cheers. Thanks for the Starbucks, Gideon. I appreciate it. Gideon called me before our meeting today and said, "What do you want from Starbucks?" Venti dark roast with half and half. Thank you very much.
And then what I do? I
You brought it
down on one of your messages.
Can you make it?
He's like, "Are you serious?" No,
I've had a couple people in the last probably 18 months. I didn't cancel last minute.
Really?
Yeah.
I called you and I was worried that that's what you were going to think when I was calling. It's probably why you didn't answer, right?
I didn't know you called. Sorry.
So Patrick texted me. He's like, "I'll be there in 40 minutes," and I came like an hour early, not realizing I was an hour early.
Yeah.
So he's like, "I'll be there in 40 minutes." thumbs down, giving him a hard time. I thought he was going to be late to his own podcast.
You thought it was at 2.
Yeah.
It's at 3. Come on.
So
Let's go to the calendar, man.
I just need to open up the calendar.
If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist.
I agree.
My kid's like, oh, I got to be at, lacrosse at X and next time. I'm like, send me an invite. Honestly, it's difficult for me to step outside of my calendar and get things done. Time management.
No, I'm the same way. I live and breathe my calendar, but this week is like a slower week. I'm not. So like my calendar's wide open. So I really wasn't paying attention to, 3 o'clock became 2 o'clock. But here we are.
So I have a dear friend. His name's Jonathan. He's out of town right now. He took his family on a vacation. And whenever we have this kind of symbiotic relationship. When we go on vacation, he house sits and watches our pet, like checks in with the house, and then vice versa. And he's out of town, and I'm watching he has 2 cats and 4 rats. Rats, yeah.
Cats and rats.
Yeah. Emotional support rats, I guess. But
just walks around on leashes.
So it's interesting, and they left on Tuesday, and he texted me today, how the rats doing? I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot about the rats.
Oh no!
I was like, dude, you should have reminded me when you left. It's your fault. I failed. Everyone else's fault when I mess up. So he's like, rats can only go a few days without eating. But he left on Tuesday. I'm like, what's going on? 2 days? A few is 3, right? Because I'm like, I'm on my way, and I was in a meeting, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go. I gotta get out of this meeting. And so I left, and went 90 down Long Lake, trying to get to his house, and went in there. Everything was fine, but it was really my schedule's been really messed up this week, also. And today I've had meetings all day, and then we have podcasts, and then we have this video shoot with the SOs after this, and then I'm probably going to get to. I have a meeting in Royal Oak at 7:30 tonight, and it's like I'm just kind of all over the place today, and it's like back to work. The party's over.
The rats are okay.
Rats were fine. They still had food in the cage. And
that 2 minutes that you got there quicker from going 90 down Long Lake didn't actually make that difference.
I never get pulled over.
That's good.
Thank God. You live right, you can speed. Okay.
I'm gonna keep that in mind.
No speeding. Yeah, so I think I know other people that know you, Gideon, and we have crossed paths. We've kind of hung out in the same circles socially here and there, and you're known as a really straightforward guy, really zen kind of guy that people can come to get good advice. People find refuge with you.
That's really nice to hear.
This is not only my personal perspective of you, but this is what I hear in social circles and in business circles as well. That Gideon is really trustworthy, and you trust Gideon a lot. And so it makes sense when you're talking about trust in your business and building that foundation of trust with your business. But I want you to talk a little about your journey and how you got to a place where you are zen, where you are trustworthy, where you are a place of refuge for those around you to find solace and comfort. I know that might sound a little, I'm overdoing it with that, but I think it's, I understand that sentiment. Like, you are a place of safety. You're not a judgmental person, and people trust you. So talk a little about your journey.
How did I get there?
Tell us a little about your life, where you came from, what you did, where you've been, where you are now, and where you're going.
Like I said, that's pretty amazing to hear that people think that of me. I appreciate it. I wonder if my wife would concur.
Wives don't.
Yeah, I definitely have her to thank quite a bit for demeanor. But I've always been entrepreneurial. I remember, in first grade, you're old enough to remember Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah.
They're like baseball cards you get in a pack. You paid a quarter for them. There's a stick of gum in them.
What were a few that
you remember?
A few Garbage Pail Kids.
I'll pull some up. Let's see.
Atom Bomb was like, I think he was like the boardwalk or park place of the Garbage Pail Kids. I think that was hard to get.
They were trading cards.
Yeah.
Came right up. So they were really kind of grotesque.
They were.
Trading cards that were a parody on Cabbage Patch Kids and called Garbage Pail Kids. For all you Gen Z millennials that don't know this, and the cards were really grotesque and controversial at the time, and they would have a lot of like gore and weird stuff going on. But Atom Bomb, for instance, is a Cabbage Patch Kid with an atom bomb blowing out of his top of his head, and I think he's playing a video game like with a joystick.
Yeah, his brain is coming out the back, and
it's pretty gruesome. But yeah.
So anyway, I use that as an example because back then you could buy a pack of maybe 5 cards for 25 cents, right? And then I realized by going to a card shop that I could buy a box of those cards at a discount, right? And there were kids that couldn't get those cards, and this is first grade. I mean, I think I'm probably like 7 years old or 8 years old. I saved up my nickels and I bought a box and I took it to school and I sold them for 50 cents a pack, and made a bunch of money, like as this single-digit
100%
return on investment, right?
That's
I just
crazy.
have always had this entrepreneurial spirit. I've worked since I was 10 years old. My neighbor across the street owned a landscaping company. He'd come home in the summer and I'd go over and clean his, lawnmowers and stuff like that. I just always, if I wanted money, I had to work. So, fast forward, I was entrepreneurial in high school and college, worked in the service industry, waited tables, bartended, always in positions where the harder I worked and the more people liked me, the more money I would make. Tips or otherwise, and same thing as sales. So I grew up in upstate New York. I went to Syracuse University, go Orange.
Yeah, I love that area up there. There's a big barbecue place right downtown that we go to when we're out there.
Dinosaur Barbecue.
Yeah, Dinosaur. Yeah, that's it. Love that. Best.
It is so good. And ended up in Michigan after college. I was dating a girl from Bloomfield Hills. Not my wife. We lasted like a long 3.
We'll edit that out. No, I'm kidding.
3 months after moving here, her and I were broken up, and I was in Michigan, right? And but I got a job selling mortgages, right? So I was a residential mortgage broker.
Okay.
Writing loans for people who wanted to refinance their home loan or buy a house. And that got me into the real estate space, right? And that was 2002, 2003. It was a great time to be in mortgages. You ever seen The Big Short? It wasn't too hard to get people mortgages. And it was pretty easy to make good money as a 20-something.
Let's talk about that for a minute, just before we move on. Did you guys know that you were kind of in a sketchy environment with selling those mortgages?
So,
were you like, I don't know, it's all right?
I think that I was too young and naive to I wasn't overly I wasn't super sophisticated back then, and I was just selling mortgages. I didn't really get into a ton of the subprime stuff, but I was around older people, veterans in the industry that were like, this is crazy. I've never seen anything like this.
Were you like, how can we do this?
I didn't know
how can we sustain that? Is this sustainable? I mean, were you, I
was
a younger sales guy.
Look, there were probably plenty of 20-somethings who were smart and sophisticated, who did their homework in school and, knew what was up.
Guys in Wall Street. Doing all the things.
I was more like, I was along for the ride and drinking the Kool-Aid and thinking that it would last forever,
It worked out well for me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
True story?
Well, yeah.
Did you do that too? Were you the same
no, not at all. But I was able to buy properties that were short sells.
Yeah, when everything blew up, it was a good opportunity.
Yeah, that's
right?
why I'm, when I talk to my wife, and she's talking about buying real estate, I'm like, well, let's wait till the economy collapses.
Right.
And then we'll buy 3 more houses.
Yeah, you buy for literally pennies, and 10 years later they're worth what?
Yeah.
4 to 10 times as much as you bought them for.
And I held on to I had a house in Ferndale that we held on to through all of it, until it all got better, and we had a tenant that stayed for like 15 years.
Let me get, all right, so you probably bought it in like 2010, 11, 12, something like that?
Ferndale, no, we bought like 2000 before. So we did lose money on it.
Okay.
We kept it.
Sorry. Okay.
We kept
You wrote it out.
That was our first house that we bought together.
Okay.
But then we moved up here and we bought a short sale.
Okay.
And then we were able to take advantage of a couple other, things, and we did well coming out of that.
That's awesome. So I took advantage of it too. I mean, when I was doing mortgages before the foreclosure crisis, I started using some of my excess cash from writing loans with a friend of mine, and we'd buy a house. We bought foreclosures in Detroit, and we'd fix them up, and we'd put a renter in, and then we'd sell it to an investor as a cash flowing asset. And when the foreclosure crisis hit, foreclosures that we were buying for 40, 50 grand in Detroit, we could buy for like $5,000,
right?
$5, $10, $15, $20,000. And so we started doing that, but our model wasn't flipping to a homeowner. It was putting a renter, selling it as a cash flowing asset. And we turned that into a business where we were buying and selling 150 to 200 houses a year. And, buy for 10, put 10 in and sell it for 30 or 40 all day long. And it was awesome, right? And we started venturing out of Michigan and aggregating foreclosures in markets like Arizona, Atlanta, Tennessee, Texas, locations where larger capital groups wanted to invest. And so we became aggregators for institutional capital. Right?
Okay.
So like that, there are hedge funds, institutional capital groups with big organized money that want to invest in different asset classes. In real estate, single family wasn't really an asset class that institutional capital was heavy in before the financial crisis.
Okay. So it was a new kind of segment they took on after.
Money, so we acted as boots on the ground. So that was cool. That helped me get some pedigree as it relates to how do you underwrite a deal from an institutional nature, and how do you deal with large capital, right? So I did that, and that business I went through about till 2015, and had a good run, and decided that my wife and I decided that what are we going to do next? And there are benefits to playing in the real estate space, Patrick. Like there's something called accelerated depreciation, which means that when you buy a piece of real estate investment, you can actually write a bunch of the depreciation off in the first year, and you can get a huge loss on your K-1, your tax return. It's a tax strategy to avoid paying taxes, basically.
Okay.
You eventually have to pay it back when you sell the property, but in that year that you purchase it, it's a significant tax savings. There's also a benefit to owning property for more than a year. You benefit from capital gains, which is taxed has a cap. So how much you can be taxed at. And owning real estate provides things like passive income, like I'm sure you know from your investment properties and other things. But the real estate that I was in those single family days, I wasn't benefiting from any of those strategies because I was buying, fixing up, and selling. It was all within a year. It was a trader business. It was ordinary income. I wasn't getting any capital growth, depreciation, tax benefit. So how do we take what my wife and I, how do we take what we learned, our experiences over the last decade, and turn it into something that the next evolution of our investing career? And we realized that going up a rung on the totem pole or the ladder, getting into commercial multifamily was the way to benefit from all these things. And so I reached out to a couple individuals who became my partners. Some guys were 20 years older than me, but strategically made sense for me to be partners with them. And we set out to buy apartment buildings. So, fast forward 7 years, we bought 8,000. We raised $350 million of equity and bought over $1 billion worth of real estate. That's my
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
journey. Along the way, I had a lot of personal wins and losses, right? But I think going back to what you mentioned about, being a person today that people feel like they can rely on and trust that's relatively steady, that came, in my journey from being completely the opposite of that.
Right.
From being, for a long time, I was so consumed with more and being successful that I lost myself in it. Right. And so, I was afraid of losing clients, so I would not always tell the truth, right?
Okay.
There were so many little white lies along the way that it became really hard to manage a business. That was in my single family days. And I ended up having an issue where I was drinking too much, and I was always out, even though I had a beautiful wife and 2 little girls, at home. I was out, and I was always thinking about being out. And I realized that I said,
partying and stuff like that.
Partying, drinking. Like I said earlier, like I had to get vulnerable and admit that I had a problem. Like I couldn't stop acting the way I didn't want to act.
Sure.
And I asked for some help, right? So I got therapy and went to the program for it, and realized that the story should be the truth always. The story's the truth. It's easier to deal with whatever situation is head on, straightforward, right?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I'm going to be okay. I got people with me. I'm my family doesn't care they like the material stuff, but they don't care, right? And I found that as soon as I started really getting honest with myself and others, there was a lot more trust in me, and my career really took off, and I was able to become more successful than I ever really thought I could be. Or let me say that a different way. I was able to become as successful as I wanted to be, with having 100% integrity and ethics, which I'm super grateful for. But throughout that journey, I needed to do things to get out of my head. I wake up and I start thinking about what I'm going to do, where I'm going to be, who I'm going to talk to that I have to. And so I developed a process and habits of, waking up and spirituality, like you talked about, right? Prayer, meditation, journaling.
Dude, I just posted a huge post today about that.
Did you?
Yeah. It's all about because people ask me, little old me, what do I do to stay so grounded?
Right?
What's that?
Similar practices than what I was just talking about.
Oh my God. Are you kidding? Yeah. I mean, but in hindsight, it's glorious.
Yeah.
Right. We don't want to kind of be separated from our past, but because we're ashamed of it. But if you can embrace the things that got you to where you are today, it's your biggest power.
100%.
That is your past, your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's unique to you, and it's a really special thing. I don't want to have someone else's life. Everyone has their levels of trauma and pain, and and we all try to deny it and pretend that we don't have that.
Right.
And if we can say okay, my mom, about 10 years ago, committed suicide. And it was a really dark time in my life. I mean, it feels it's all right. I feel I have closure with that. And you know what? My mom, she's in a better place. She was sick and suffering for a lot of years. And that was the closure I needed to move on in my life.
Right.
And it was a really sad and dark time in my life. And that's when I stopped drinking. I was like, I'm taking life seriously.
Right.
Because I'm done with this. This is not only a little close to home, it is home. This is home.
Right.
And so, and for a few years after that, I wanted to push that off. That's separate myself from the past.
Mm-hmm.
But I like cool, weird, dark things in real life. Like now, like I'm gonna go see Nosferatu later. Props to Nosferatu.
Yeah. Shout out.
Nosferatu is a really good contributor to the pot. No, MJR16.
Yeah.
I like dark, weird, crazy things, from music to art to theater to movies to music. Like I don't like the fun, cool, poppy, normal stuff.
Yeah.
And so why would I want that for my life and path? So like it's cool to see that evolution and have that in the present.
Dude, I'm so proud of where I was and where I am today. I think that I can't speak for anybody else, but in my experience, I have in the past been afraid to put off a vibe that I don't have it all figured out. Right? Like I don't want people to think that I'm not perfect all the time, which is ridiculous, right? Because nobody is.
I think a lot of people think you are perfect.
No.
Yes,
well, I put a good vibe out there.
No. Like I think that's the thing.
It's the front.
It's
the front.
No, I think that's when you are being authentic.
Sure.
You actually are being that thing that you
perfect.
Yeah,
but
perfect.
But in the past, I mean, what was driving me was what other people thought of me. Other people's perception of me was more important to me than being a good dad, right? Or being a good husband, right? Being a good friend, or being honest and ethical. So it's like, where are my motivations, right? What really should be driving me?
Or do you even know?
What I even know, right? So
like, what am I doing?
It took what it took, but it took some pain, right, and challenges. And we were talking about like that in business.
Tightrope.
Same thing, right? Like it took pain in my life, my personal life, my business life, for me to admit that I didn't have it all figured out and to ask for some help, both professionally, but also more importantly, personally. I can't manage certain things in my life anymore, and I need to get advice and get some direction from people that have been through what I've been through. And thank God for that willingness, because it set me in the right direction to be who I knew I always was supposed to be, who I was made to be, who I had kind of fallen short of. I'm glad that I can be available to people, and
it's a lot of work.
Example at times, it's hard to be this.
It's a lot of work. No, that's great and funny. I love that. No, it's really difficult to be this awesome.
Vulnerability and to ask.
Well, and, the buzzword you hear in business, personal, and social media, from huge corporations all the way down to the individual contributor and consumer is authenticity. That's the big buzzword, authenticity. Who's really authentic? People want to do business with authentic companies. People want to interact with authentic people.
Right.
People want to be authentic or seem and appear.
People can tell pretty quickly, right?
I think so. I think so too. It's for me to be authentic and to get rid of all the facade and the masks and everything I pull from my past. It takes a lot of work for me to be authentic. Like to speak my mind, truly who I am and what I am, and to get help if I need it, and to be vulnerable. Those are all authenticity.
That takes what you said. You said it takes a lot, or it's hard work to do that. It's hard work in the beginning and over time, but you eventually get to a place. I eventually got to a place where it's not hard because I'm consistent doing the stuff that was hard in the begining.
I agree. That's a good kind of a distinction.
All right, it's not like I need to work. I don't need to wake up every day anymore and work really hard to be the best version of myself.
The reason I would say it's hard is because it's really easy to get away from.
Yes.
Right. So to stay consistent and disciplined is actually the thing that's, I don't use hard in a negative way, but it's something that you have to commit to. So I kind of define discipline as I kind of define discipline as doing the thing regardless of what you think or how you feel. That can be difficult for some people, and it's difficult for me. If it's Saturday morning and it's 7 o'clock and I could be somewhere at 8,
Right.
that is good for me, and I should go. Am I going to do that thing?
Yeah.
That's good for me, regardless of how I think or what I feel.
Yeah.
Or what I think and how I feel. And so that's the hard part. It's hard is a good thing.
So how do you stay consistent?
Well, you have to do the thing, regardless of how you feel or what you think.
Right.
That's the hard part, is actually going beyond, and that's the work. That's the hard work that I talk about is trying to display your true authenticity.
Yeah.
Right. And you talked about a little bit ago is I get up and meditate.
Mm-hmm.
Because what meditation does for me is it separates my consciousness from my feelings and thoughts. So now here's my consciousness. And the more I meditate, the more I practice meditation. It's a practice. Like if you're not practicing, you suck at it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I'm doing it, I'm good at it, and consistently I get better. But if I quit, so now that separates my consciousness from my feelings and thoughts. And the more I do and the more I practice, the farther I get away from the things that will distract me from doing the work.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you.
So as a thought comes in, I can go, hey, really annoying, angry, thought.
Mm-hmm.
See you later. That's interesting. I gotta let you go.
It's a thought, or is it real? Right? I can say to myself, is this real?
It's all real, but we don't have to latch onto it. And same with the feeling. I feel embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
I said something stupid in a meeting that was offensive, right? And then now I feel, disgusted with myself. If I'm in a place of spiritual meditation, like that is out here,
Right.
and I'm like, I'm okay. That's just a feeling I'm having. It's not reality, or it may, like you said, maybe it doesn't exist. Let it go.
Right.
So I kind of hold that, decree or creed of let it go. Let go of it. Let it go.
That idea of like meditation or taking a step back and getting a different perspective on things is so key. And it's so funny because I can build stuff up in my head and things can seem really big and insurmountable, scary, or like just something I don't want to deal with. And sometimes when I take some time to breathe and separate that thought from my consciousness, maybe write down things that I think I have to do or what this thing looks like, I realize that it's really not that big of a deal. My brain has just created it to be some sort of mini crisis, right? And I think that at times a lot of people can run around thinking that they're, things are a lot bigger or scarier than they really are, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we got people around us, right? And I'm realizing that there's a playoff football game that's about to start.
Really?
College playoffs. Right?
Nice.
They
You can't watch it. Stay engaged.
I'm going to try and stay engaged. But I think what's a delight for the people who are here to watch it is that they get to watch the game but listen to us.
I mean,
at the same time.
They're so lucky. Well, we got about 20 minutes left, or I say, until it gets awkward, then we'll be done.
Have you been watching sports lately?
Oh, I mean, I'm less of a college football fan, but I'm, diehard NFL.
I like the college. So this is the first year that they're doing this 12-team playoff, and I'm not a huge college sport person, but like I'm actually not like a huge sport person in general, but like I love the Lions. Since they've been good.
Yeah.
And I always get into sports around the playoffs because we're like the NCAA basketball tournament, because it's like these players put everything on the line in the playoffs or in these tournaments. And there was a game yesterday, one of the college football games, Texas and Arizona State, that went into like double overtime, and it was crazy,
What do you
I
think
love
about
watching it. I don't care
Scatabo?
about
You've
either.
been following Scatabo?
Yes.
Dude, that guy is. Do you see him get ripped down with his helmet?
Yes.
And like his whole head seemed to explode as he hit the ground.
Yes.
Then he got up.
And he
and
just
like,
glared at the camera, right?
I mean, he did have a little push off,
Yeah, he did.
and that didn't get
I
called.
thought that they were going to call offensive pass interference because of that. I did.
He's great. That dude is.
So you watched it too?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not like I don't know everything about it, but I love watching football. Don't get me wrong. Like that's my. Like
And
if
then
I'm working, I usually have some football or something playing in the background. Yeah.
Did you go to any Lions games this year?
No.
Me neither.
No, it's like, dude, I come to the private lounge here, dude. It's like 10 TVs, and
Yes.
you can smoke cigars.
It looks like a nice lounge.
Oh my God, it's great. You should be a member.
The guy that doesn't smoke cigars. Right?
Yeah, I know. It's I've in the last 2 weeks I've smoked 2 cigars. You don't have to be like every day.
You know what I see here is I see guys. There's guys who've been here since we got here. They're playing cards. There's guys chit chat. Like it's fellowship.
Well, you've known people
camaraderie.
that showed up here too, by the way.
Yeah.
Like we were just hanging out, and Gideon, some people from business, personal came in and said hi to Gideon, and you just see people that here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of business players that come here.
Right.
You run into everybody.
Yeah.
The day that who was it? The state that lost the basketball game last year. Was it not state? Who was the team that went really far in basketball?
I don't know.
Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank, like Western or something.
Oh Oakland.
Oakland. Oh yeah, Oakland. So the coach was in here the day after their loss.
Really?
Yeah, and everyone was like chilling out. I forgot his name, but I mean, you get this is Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills. You get a lot of, you'll see like basketball players, football players walk in here any given day.
Spot.
This is it,
Smokies.
man.
You said it.
These guys are the best. Those chocolate-covered cherries are nuts too.
Really?
Yeah, they are so freaking good, dude. Best things ever. Excuse me. So I really appreciate it, man. A lot of what you're talking about really resonates with me. You said a lot about success. And, I don't need to put you on the spot, but personally, I hate that word, success.
It's a very relative
like,
term, man.
Success, what does that mean, right? Like, and a lot of times, I'll switch it out with living the life of your wildest dreams.
Okay.
So screw success. Are you living the life of your wildest dreams? And if not, or are you living the business, the personal life, the marriage, your kids of your wildest dreams? And if not, what can we do to help you get there? Not me. Like, what can we do to get us there, right?
Yeah.
So I look at success like, I have a successful marriage, 21 years. It's in shambles. No, not really. But like, what does that mean? Is it just because we've been married 21 years? Or is there some sort of quality that is, kind of included in that success?
Right.
Am I living the life of my wildest dreams, right? And that's my baseline for success. And if the answer is maybe, no, I got room to grow, then, or am I on the right track? Right? The answer is yes. I have to be convinced, convicted that I am on the right track to live the life of my wildest dreams for me to consider myself successful. And a lot of that has to do with me living up to my standards and values. And I was talking to my wife earlier this morning about it. I said, I'm kind of stressed today. I had a bad night's sleep and was kind of sweating in my sleep and like worried about stuff and like just overthinking. And she said, what are you stressed about? And I said, well, I think I'm not living to my values. I think that's how I'm defining stress today, is the gap between, my action and values. And when I don't meet up with the values in life that I know are set for me, I'm stressed. And that can throw me off in all different kinds of directions: business, marriage, kids, fatherhood, life in general, man. I'm not there for my friends. I'm not there in my social life. I want to be engaged. And I had a pretty convicting conversation with a friend recently we've been kind of off. And it's like there's something going on, and like are you mad or something. And he said you just seem really disengaged lately. And
He said that to you?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, friends know,
And I
right?
said, "Screw you, man! You're disengaged." And I said, that's not my perspective. I don't have that perspective about myself. But I've learned throughout the years to not shoot the messenger and to see what message from the universe is coming from this person, thing, situation, and how I can learn from it. If I can remain humble and have some semblance of humility about me, I'm able to.
Yeah, that's your question.
Huh?
That's him.
Yeah. That is crazy. What in the world, bro?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. All right, Kurt. Let's see you, man.
This is important, man. Hey, we got a. Come on in.
I'm out. Michael jumped into that.
It's my buddy Patrick's podcast. It's called Sales and Cigars. So Patrick, this is Mike.
Clap. Say, yay! How you doing, Mike? We met actually. I see you around. How you doing?
So Patrick interviews different people, business people,
executives, CEOs, CROs,
Yeah.
COOs.
Talk about sales, business, life. In the midst
It's
of
deep,
cigars.
man. We get deep, and we're live right now.
Interview a sales rep.
What's that?
Interview a sales rep.
I should. Are you a sales rep? Let's go, man. I'll interview you. Yeah, we'll get down to the. Let's go. Let me get your card. I got a card. Here. And we're not partial.
So
we
Mike's really good friends with George.
George. Oh, Esper? Or no? Who?
No, Harbidi. George, who you saw here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's cool.
You know George.
Yeah, I see you around all the time. I'm here like all the time. I just don't know you that well. So nice to meet you. And yeah, let's do it, man. We'll interview a sales rep. I think that's good. I was a sales rep for 20 years, so we have a lot in common. Awesome, man. See you,
Have a
bud.
good one.
Hit me up on email.
So our mutual friend George, who you know,
Yeah.
they're I think members of Red Run together.
Okay.
And I was talking to George on the way here, and he was like, Mike will be there.
Oh my
And I walked
God.
in, and he was there with Kurt, another one of George's friends.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Steve might have walked in too. I
Yeah.
think you know Steve.
Yeah.
Around.
Everybody knows Steve.
And so it's I don't know, man.
You were talking about my
like-
living the life of my wildest dreams.
Living the life of your
You
wildest.
know, I always say like I'm always working on, myself, my spirituality, my
Yeah.
health, my marriage, my family, because there's children involved,
Sure.
and my business. And those are a lot of things to kind of keep track of. And I'm rarely living the life of my wildest dreams on every single one at the same time.
Right.
It's kind of like whack-a-mole. I'm working on a few, I'm doing good on a couple others, and there's a couple that are not. Because I'm human, right? Having complete balance all the time, I think, is a challenge. That's the goal, But over time and consistency, I can be okay on most of them. So there have been times where I have absolutely lived the life of my wildest dreams in business, and then, the Fed raises interest rates by 5 points, and I'm not living the life of my wildest dreams in business.
That's
Right.
hilarious.
And I know that business is cyclical and it'll be back. There's, between Thanksgiving and New Year's, there's a lot of cake and cookies and unhealthy eating. So I can't say that I'm living the life of my wildest dreams on my health and fitness at the moment, but I'm hoping that I'm expecting
running,
that to
bro.
change.
Let's go running.
We can go running. I would say that with my with my wife and our relationship, it's never been better.
Good.
Congrats,
man.
And it's a work in progress. I think that I need to be kind of patient with myself and know that I I can't be there all the time. And once I'm there, there's a new bar that
Yeah.
gets set. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't want to be cliche, but like, you know, I got to enjoy today. I got to enjoy the journey, right?
Yeah.
Life is what happens when you're busy making plans.
And that's what I think is important, is locking on to the journey.
Yeah, man.
And I think that is living the life of my wildest dreams. As long as I'm on the journey.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like not giving up
Yeah.
and not, you know, and staying engaged and present.
Yeah.
For those people in our lives that deserve it.
Mhm.
Your kids deserve for you to be present.
100%.
You know, if we're like bringing like all kinds of drama home from our work business, and we're not there locking in with our kids, and you know, I'm not perfect at this. No one is, right? But it's about kind of that conscious intention towards that.
I was going to say intentionality, and you took the word right out of my mouth.
Amazing.
What are my intentions? Am I aware? Am I striving for it? You know, we're all going to fall short, but you know, consistently being intentional with where I want to be and putting in that effort.
Yeah.
And giving myself a little bit of compassion when I fall short, because I've got a pretty rough, you know, critical voice in my head at times of saying you should be perfect all the time, right? And if you're not, you're a piece of whatever, right?
Have you thought much about kind of positive self affirmations? I know it gets a little hokey or
No,
self-talk.
we do it.
Changing your inner dialogue.
We
Like,
do it.
and that's a proven strategy or technique to change that neuroplasticity,
Yes.
because we can have this just self-defeating inner dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's this negative, pulling down this negative energy from wherever, the universe, you know, and it's like the opposite of manifestation. It's like,
Well, it is a manifestation, just in the wrong direction.
yeah,
I am 100% convinced through experience and trial and effort and error that what I speak becomes my reality. Where I focus my energy and attention becomes my reality. And so it seems so simple and it seems hokey, but like, what does hokey really mean? That I'm embarrassed about what other people are going to think of me?
right.
And at the end of the day, the only people that I care about what they think of me are my wife and my kids, right?
Right.
So if I can practice intentionality and positive affirmations and positivity to manifest a great life for us and be that example for my children, then I do it. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got vision boards all over our bathroom, right?
Nice.
All over our mirrors. And my wife is great with a verbal intentionality. We do this game together. We used to do it a lot more in the past, but literally it's called the smiling exercise. You literally just smile for a minute. You say,
Let's try it.
And you literally feel better because just smiling releases serotonin in your brain. And it, like, just simple things like that. Imagine if just smiling works for a minute. What, like, speaking positivity?
It's so awkward, doesn't it?
Well, when you're trying to talk, we just.
Yeah.
I feel
No,
that.
I run a lot,
Yeah.
and I try to smile when I run. I do. I'm right there with you on that. You know,
Because you can have that resting face that's just like arduous. It's like this sucks. Like, this is awful. You know, I imagine that I'm not a runner. I know you run a lot, right?
I'm training for 50 miles.
Yeah, long distances.
In April, 3 months away.
Talk about a critical voice in your head, right? I mean, once you get to a place where you feel, depending on the day, your psychology, how your body feels, the voice in your head can be pretty loud. Like, I got to stop. I'm done.
Right.
Whatever. Like, how do you push through that? I imagine over time you train yourself, right?
It's barriers. You know, you hit walls.
Yeah.
And this is true in life, business, family, whatever, is you hit these walls. And it's really easy to just accept
and just stop.
That I'm only a 10-mile runner. And I'm going to just like scale it back now, and 10 miles, you know, is, or, you know, 20 miles, or the life of my wildest dreams.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to figure out a way to break through those walls and barriers. And there's little techniques you can do. what I find is really important is to plan accordingly and be self-aware and have your breathing down. So if you're on your first, I don't listen to music when I run. I'll run 20 miles with no headphones. Unbelievable. I don't know how I do it, but this is how I do it actually. So I will do the first, 5 miles where I'm just doing deep, long breaths. I'll do like maybe 6, 7 breaths a minute.
Okay.
And I hold it. It's almost like really preparing for what's to come. If you're not self-aware about your breathing now, you're going to be hating life in 20 miles.
Okay.
So, and then, you're at the 10-mile mark. And there's 3 basically energy systems that I run off of when I run. It's my muscles, my lungs, and my mental. Right. So which one am I on? I have to be aware of my body and understand where I'm at. And typically I'll start off on my lungs, and that lasts me about 10 miles. My lungs start getting a little wore out. My mental starts to fade a little. And then I'm like, okay, well, my physical training is going to kick in now. And now I'm going to go over to my muscles. I'm going to rely on my muscles and give my lungs a break, give my mind a break as well. And then my muscles get sore. Oh, what do I do? Is my mind weak? Then I go back to my lungs. Right. So as I'm getting to these walls, so I had a 10-mile wall for a really long time. And then I pushed through. And what I would do is I would, go a little harder and faster right at like the 9-mile mark. And so when I got to 10, it seemed like a break to slow down. Okay. And then I would run like 3 more miles. And I'd be like, oh my God, I just ran 13. It was actually really easy because I was resting while I'm running.
That's awesome.
So, and then I'm breathing and switching back in my also mind and lungs, And then 17 was a huge barrier for a long time. And then I got up to 23, and now like 30 miles is like a really kind of rough spot for me.
Okay.
But I know I can get through it. I just have to do what I do.
You're training for a 50
miles.
It's a lot of miles, man.
Yeah.
I mean, 30 miles is a lot of miles.
It's like a journey through Middle Earth. I'm like, it's really like I'm in Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, and I'm a warrior.
In your head.
And that's how I feel, man. I feel like a warrior that is overcoming all kinds of demons and, monsters. And when I'm done, I slay the monster, man. I slay the dragon.
So how long does it take you to run 30 miles?
30 miles takes me about 6 hours.
How often do you do that?
4, 5 hours.
Like once a week?
No. I do I do about 10 miles every other day.
Okay.
That's my base. Is like to keep up. And then I do a long run every once a week or every other week, which is like 20 to 25.
Okay.
And then every month I try to do a long one. But the 50 is, at some point you just keep going. It's like if you're at like 35 miles, it's like just keep running. Like it's like you got this.
Yeah.
And that's how it is in marriage. We got this. And if not, we hit a wall, and then we push real hard, slow down, get through it. And,
I don't know if it's the same for you, but I heard you say you were married for over 20 years.
21 years.
21 years. Awesome. We'll be 19 years in May.
Wow.
And it's so much. It's the best it's ever been because we've stuck through those, not so great periods of time. My wife is a saint. She's super patient with me. She put up with the stuff I talked about earlier, and others of my shortcomings, and I'm super grateful for the relationship that we have today because we stuck it out, right? It's amazing. It's amazing what it can become.
Yeah, and understanding that those walls will come, and then being accepting and willing to get through them requires a lot of humility.
Yes.
And marriage requires a lot of humility. We can't have long-term marriages without humility, and it's about serving others, just being a servant. I like that whole idea of servant leadership.
Yes.
I really like that. It's really serving from an empathetic, compassionate standpoint, putting yourself in other people's shoes. You have someone at work that's struggling, an AE or a sales rep, or even, a a marketing person or a COO or whatever, and you want to be able to put yourself in their shoes and see their perspective. It's really important, and especially with kids. Like you got to put yourself in their shoes. It's really easy to disregard and yell at and shoo them away. Be a man, or this toxic, environment. It's really easy to be toxic in the home life.
Well, especially if that's how it was when you grew up. I noticed myself growing up, or having my kids grow up, and like automatically acting the way that my parents acted. My parents did the best they could, and
I feel you.
Yeah, and like I'm not them, right?
Right.
And we can do things differently, right?
Yeah.
So So when was it when you realized like you were like a dad? Like not a dad, like I have a kid, but like I noticed that it's like almost every joke that I have is like a dad joke. I feel like jokes that I have are funnier around people of my age, but then when I tell them in front of my kids, I become a dad.
Yeah, I have like 3 jokes that I tell, and everyone like gets mad at me when I tell them because they're so dad jokish. No, I don't know. I mean, I've always had this like ego, like I'm different. I'm unique. I'm a different dad. I'm a cool dad. And when it comes down to it, like your kids will never think you're the cool dad ever. And so it's like it's kind of right sizing, like marriage, fatherhood. It just always right sizes me and gets my ego back in place. Like I believe ego is a spectrum, and the center point of that spectrum is humility and reality. And to the right of that is inflated ego. To the left of reality is deflated ego. So we live in these spaces where we're either better than or worse than we are. We're never in reality. So my goal is to be able to look at myself in the mirror and see myself for how my kids see me. Or see myself for how other people see me. And it's not always pretty. It's like annoying, remarks, the sarcasm. Like I have to be able to see myself for what I truly am in reality,
That's
not
a
what
really
I think.
interesting perspective of reality. I like how you that straight line is the reality. I use that straight line as like just like being okay, being human, right? Because I use the same analogy, but not with reality. It's like I'm either better than you or I'm less than you. Right. I have a hard time just being okay with who I am. Right. And when I'm and if I'm one or the other, if I'm one up or one down, I'm not in the moment. Right. And I'm not being who I should be, because my motivations change if I'm one down or I'm one up from you.
And a lot of times it's not even about am I better than you or worse than you. It's am I better than I think I am or worse than I think I am, and not living in who I really am.
Right.
With humility in reality, and that's kind of like also has a lot to do with denial. Like everything outside of reality is denial.
So I had I had this analogy one time I was speaking with a group of friends that had to do with this, and one of the guys sent me he created a graphic of it, and it was like we called it like the Gideon's graph for spirituality. It was like, okay, on the up and down graph, it was like, am I one up from you or am I one down from you? And like the axis is I'm doing okay, and then there was the vertical axis.
Right.
And it was the idea of, am I living in the past, right? Am I in regret of the past, or am I fearing the future, right? And that vertical axis was like, I'm okay and I'm in the present right now. So if I can be there on the line in the present and there on the vertical line, and then I can be on the horizontal line in terms of being okay with myself, that's exactly where I like strive to be, which I'm really not. I'm not at that bullseye.
You're hovering around.
That's right. That's
like
the goal.
We try to get into a place where we're open to the middle.
Yeah.
But I just sent you. I actually put together the ego spectrum chart.
Did you?
I just sent it.
Okay.
I just texted it to you. So take a look at that. It's time we got to wrap up now, Gideon. I know I could sit here all day, man. and that's what I actually typically do with my friends is sit and talk and have cigars with them all day while I'm working. Or business associates. I mean, this is a great place to bring people and have a good time and good discussion. So, it's really great to have you here. Thank you so much. You're a really great friend of mine. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast this week. That's about it for Sales and Cigars podcast, everybody. Thank you so much for your time. And Gideon, have a wonderful week and new year ahead.
Peace. Appreciate it.
Oh, sure. He'll get us on video. Thanks a lot, Gideon. All right, let's get these flowers. We hit a lot of it. Thanks, Gideon.
He doesn't see it. It's
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.